The city never sleeps. The sirens, the footsteps, the endless hum of traffic, it all blends together until you can't hear yourself think. But if you ever walk down 42nd Street in New York City, in the middle of that chaos, you might notice something unusual. A man, a wooden easel, a canvas that seems to breathe. People rush by him every day. Most don't look twice, but those who stop, they never forget. Because this man paints more than colors, he paints emotions. He paints wounds you thought no one else could see. That man's name is Daniel Carter. And this is the story you were never supposed to forget. Daniel was born in Detroit, Michigan, the oldest of 4 kids in a working-class family. His father worked long shifts at a factory. His mother served food in a school cafeteria. They didn't have much, but they had love even if it wasn't always spoken. Daniel grew up drawing on paper grocery bags, sketching broken cars, the skyline, and people's faces. But when his father died suddenly of a heart condition, Daniel was only 17. Overnight, he became the man of the house. College became a dream he couldn't chase. Instead, he worked odd jobs to help his mother keep the lights on. He tried everything: janitor, warehouse loader, assistant in a logistics office. He wore the mask of responsibility, but inside, depression was tightening its grip. By the time he was 28, living in a small Brooklyn apartment, Daniel's nights were long battles with anxiety. His mornings a heavy drag through loneliness. He was surviving, but he wasn't living. Until one night, cleaning through a box his mother had sent from Detroit, he found his late father's old brushes. He picked one up, dipped it in paint, stroked it across a scrap of cardboard. That night, something inside him broke, and something else was reborn. When layoffs finally took his job, Daniel could have drowned. But instead, he carried an easel onto the street. His stage wasn't a gallery, it was the corner of 42nd and 8th Avenue, right by the bus terminal. First, no one cared. People brushed by, their eyes locked on phones and deadlines. But Daniel painted anyway, every day, in the heat, in the cold, in the rain. Then, something shifted. A child stopped first, pointing at the colors. A Wall Street banker slowed down. A street vendor selling pretzels leaned over. And slowly, more people began to gather. They weren't just watching the paintings. They were watching the transformation. Watching blankness turn into meaning. Watching Daniel turn silence into a voice. People began asking, "Why do your paintings feel so personal?" Because they were. Every canvas Daniel painted was a chapter from his life. A lonely figure sitting under a flickering streetlight, his depression-filled nights in Brooklyn. A rusted car outside an abandoned factory, his Detroit childhood, watching his father's world collapse. A broken mirror reflecting a smiling face, his mask of pretending while drowning inside. A child holding a balloon slipping into the night sky himself, clinging to hope that always seemed just out of reach. Strangers didn't know the biography behind the art, but they felt it. They projected their own lives onto his. That was the psychology of Daniel's work. People saw not just him. They saw themselves. Daniel's corner became more than a street, it became a kind of open-air therapy room. People didn't just stop for art. They stopped because the paintings touched something they hadn't dared to face. A grieving widow stood in front of wilted roses on canvas, whispering through tears, "This is me." A teenager struggling with self-harm stared at Daniel's broken chains painting and muttered, "Maybe I can break free too." A polished lawyer paused at a rain-soaked cityscape, standing there for 20 minutes before quietly admitting, "This feels like me." Daniel had no psychology degree, but he understood something most people forget. People are starved for connection. His brush became the language of empathy. His colors became permission to feel. His art became survival for him and for others. Daniel wasn't good with words. He wasn't the kind of man who could stand on a stage and speak. But his love language was paint. His brush said, "I see you." His colors whispered, "You're not broken beyond repair." His canvases sang softly, "Even in darkness, beauty still exists." And people heard it. He never had to beg for attention. He never shouted. The art itself approached the audience, pulled them in, and held them there. But why the street? Why not a gallery? Why not an online shop? Because for Daniel, the street was honest. The street didn't care about prestige. It didn't filter who came, it welcomed everyone. The lost, the rushed, the broken, the hopeful. And perhaps deep down, Daniel felt he belonged to the streets too. He had been broken, abandoned, unseen, just like the city corners, cracked but still standing. When reporters began noticing him, they asked, "What does painting mean to you?" Daniel smiled faintly and said, "Painting is my biography in color. It's how I speak when words betray me. It's my therapy, my prayer, and my survival." For me, painting isn't about capturing the world. It's about transforming my wounds into something that might heal someone else. By now, Daniel's street corner had transformed. It wasn't just a spot to pass by. It became a sanctuary. People came to see more than art. They came to feel. He realized his mission was bigger than him. His art was no longer about survival, it was about connection. It was proof that mental health struggles can be spoken in more than words. Proof that even broken lives can create beauty. Proof that the deepest wounds can give birth to the deepest empathy. So next time you walk through the city, headphones in, rushing somewhere important, remember this. There might be a man with a brush, standing quietly in the corner. And on his canvas may be the story you've been carrying all along. Don't just walk past, because sometimes healing isn't hidden in therapy rooms or prescriptions. Sometimes healing is waiting for you on the street, written in colors you never knew you needed to see.